think the concept of picnic is wonderful. And I wasn't so much thinking about the picnic part, but I was thinking about the mix of worlds, the setting, this constructed place, that was part of the project, was to build it. I hope that makes it also into the newspapers, that this was a project of inhabiting a space. And I just like the way the Dutch mix different worlds with great ease. In most societies of the world, these societies are separate, these worlds are separate. Government does not mix so easily with, say, techies or, it's interesting to see. Well, I think what we're seeing is a strange bifurcation, that what is disappearing is the national newspaper. That is replaced by all kinds of online possibilities that mix, sources, from many different countries. But what is emergent, at least in some of the areas that I know, is the local newspaper. Because that is what you're not going to get from global media. So there is an interesting redistribution between a global scale and a local scale. And I see that actually in a lot of different domains. It happens in the world of media. You have global media, the national newspaper disappears, and then the local newspaper appears. You have that in other issues as well. There's a lot of shifting of functions, responsibilities, domains of engagement from national levels to subnational levels. A firm that goes global now can be located in a city and deal directly with other actors in other cities. The national government, the bureaucracies of the national state are avoided, they're bypassed because they're thinner or they have been lifted up a bit vis-a-vis, business flows. You see the same thing with culture. We have very specialized global circuits. Certain parts in certain states in the south of India have a direct circuit to Los Angeles musicians. You have a world, you have millions of these circuits. So what to me is extremely interesting is this local to local across global distances. And it does suggest a kind of denationalizing that happens from the inside rather than simply a globalizing, which means that the global invades the national, which is the typical image. I see that also happens. But I see this other trend too, that a kind of separating a bit from the national, the local, a city especially, but also specialized circuits like the music circuit. Well, I think they have to. I think there is a risk in thinking on the part of journalists that to do global means to do very general. That is totally boring, and nobody's interested in totally general. They'll read it if they think that they have to read it. So the challenge for journalism is, I think, not to think on the one hand, I repeat, that to do global journalism means you have to be general, so it applies to the whole world. But on the contrary, it is recovering the particularities within, at the subnational level within, and trends that are global and that connect all these particular sites. That is, I think, one of the big challenges. Yeah, there is also the fact that there is a vast amount of information, and a lot of the information can be quite specific. It belongs to, because it's out there, it's information, it's not knowledge, it has not been incorporated into complex systems. Knowledge is much more than information. Information is a bit, it's an item. And so often it means that they are very specific, they belong. The information bits belong to a particular world, to a particular place, to a particular, domain of daily life or whatever. And so all that information that is available does not necessarily mean that you have available as a journalist, I would think, or as a scholar, a global view. So the journalist has to actually do some mixing, some bricolaging, of multiple little specifics to understand something about the global if the journalist wants to do something global. And that might well mean specificities that belong to cities or areas or particular immigrant groups, but that recur, they repeat themselves across the world. That then becomes a bit of global journalism. And that is close to the reality. Whereas to have a very general statement that is thought to be global because it covers the whole world, that is not necessarily global journalism. That's a high-level generality.